Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make videos for NBA DFS content, prize picks content, sportsbooks content, all that good stuff. All these videos, they get posted on this subreddit. I make updates with all the news that comes out throughout the day. Very important, especially with these end of season slates. I'll talk about night slate in a second, but it's very, very important. So you can ask me questions about the slate. I'll reply to you up to lock, all that good stuff. That'll be linked down below. And if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on Twitter right there. No recap for the main slate. Didn't cash. I played too much Spurs value. I had Sandro and Chimpenny. They both snowflaked. So yeah, if you played any Hornets tonight too, you just got absolutely trolled with the rotation. But Night Slate and Showdown should go very, very well for me. There was a huge edge on Showdown and Night Slate tonight. And I can just show you guys what that edge was. It was one of the biggest edges we've had all season. So Zubac was available to play. And then I saw this tweet by Beat Writer that he wasn't out there during warmups. So I figured there was a really good chance that he just wasn't going to play. And that ended up being the case. I made updates here in Discord about it. And then Powell, we got news that he wasn't starting. And I told everyone there's very high DMP risk here. He is not playing. And I told everyone as well, Terrence Mann was a guy in the starting lineup I wanted absolutely nothing to do with because his minutes could get slashed. All three of those guys are like 50+% owned on Showdown, Night Slate, etc. So it's going to be a great night for Night Slate and Showdown. Hopefully you guys have a good night as well. But you can find edges like that all the time when teams are starting to rest players, for the end of the season. It's definitely one of the funnest times to play NBA DFS, personally, in my opinion. So yeah, should be a profitable day with Night Slate, Showdown, etc. Didn't cash on main, but my core on main slate today was Damian Lillard, Lamar Stevens, Sandro Mamukelashvili. So 2 out of 3 good plays on the core. The one bust was Sandro. And all right, yeah, let's get into the 5-game slate. Like I said, hopefully you guys had a good night. And yeah, we got it's an okay slate, decent slate, some headaches that we're going to have to deal with, like Boston probably resting everyone, Utah, headache there. So yeah, going to be an interesting one for sure, but let's get into it. Good spot here for Chicago. I mean, I think Chicago looks pretty good here, especially if Ayo is out. So if Ayo's out, we also have Drummond, doubtful as well. So with that being said, starting lineup, if Ayo is out, I would assume they just go back to Kobe White, DeMar DeRozan, Vooch, Javonte Green, Alex Caruso. So those 5 would be my guess once again here. With that being said, if Javonte Green does start once again, he's been really good of late. Played 30 minutes last game, went for 24 fantasy points. He's a guy, solid rebounder. 4.4K, I think he'd stand out as a solid value for this slate. Other potential value could open up, but yeah, he'd be a pretty good value. I think the main guys look pretty good here as well, especially at their price points. Kobe White, Vooch, DeMar DeRozan. I really like all 3 in this spot going up against Detroit. Kobe might be the easiest to get to at 6.5K, but they're going to run a really tight rotation, especially if Ayo is out. You can see these guys play 40+ minutes tomorrow. Vooch with no Drummond, probably going to have to play a ton. DeMar DeRozan's going to play close to 40 minutes. I think these guys look really solid if Ayo is out. Caruso would be my least favorite at 5.8K, but still firmly in play. And like I said, I do like Javonte Green for value if he starts once again. If Ayo's in, it's definitely going to muddy up a little bit of the rotation. You're still going to get huge minutes for the main guys. It wouldn't make any of these main guys out of it. They'd still be decent plays for me. I'd still like Kobe. I'd still like Vooch. I'd still like DeMar. Would prefer Kobe to Ayo at similar price points, and then Caruso would still be firmly in play, but not as good of a play with Ayo back. And then as far as, like bench value goes, I don't know if I get to like much bench value if Ayo is in. I think we'll just get better value. Moving on to Detroit, Cade Cunningham is questionable. He's been questionable every game, but he has sat I believe, past couple games, to be honest. So assuming Cade does sit, you should get a starting lineup of Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Marcus Sasser, Metu, and Troy Brown Jr., I believe, was it? I have the lineup up here. Yeah. Sasser, Ivey, Duren, Troy Brown, Metu. And then you should see Flynn play a decent amount, like low 20s minutes off the bench. Wiseman get the backup 5. I don't know if I really can. I guess Evan Fournier is fine too. All right, with that being said, if Cade's out, I mean, Duren's minutes just have not been great of late. I mean, let's look at center plays in his price range, around his price range. I would just much rather play Vooch, to be honest, or go up to 8. Duren's minutes right now, with him only playing like high 20s minutes a game, it's hard for me to prioritize him at 6.7K. Now, can he go out there and get you a double-double with like a couple blocks and steals and have a really good game at his price point? Absolutely, but the minute ceiling just isn't there right now, so he's strictly only going to be a GPP only play for me. If Cade's out, I do like both the guards and Marcus Sasser, Jaden Ivey. I prefer Jaden Ivey straight up. Sasser might be a bit easier to get to just because he's cheaper. Sasser should play high 20s, low 30s minutes. Jaden Ivey will run the offense as well. Should play around 30 minutes. His peripherals go up as well. I think both would be decent point per dollar options. Just tough matchup here going up against Chicago. Metu, if he starts again, I like him quite a bit. There were more people out this game who played 43 minutes here, played 35 minutes here up against the Sixers. We know historically he's a good point per minute guy. So yeah, if we're expecting similar minutes here, I do like some Metu at 5K. Not as good of a play as he once was, but yeah, 5K, starting Metu, good fantasy producer, playing mid-30s minutes. Definitely going to stand out to me, assuming he does start once again here. Then, if you want to get to like Troy Brown for salary relief, I'm not going to do it. I'd much rather, honestly, just play Evan Fournier at 3.5K. If we're going to get a similar situation to last game. But yeah, the Malachi Flynn 4.5K probably seems priced right. Especially me. All right, let's move on to the Knicks. So they're finally getting fully healthy here. But them fully healthy, you're still going to see the starters get ran into the ground. You're still going to see 40 minutes for Brunson. You're still going to see 40 minutes for Hart. You're still going to see 40 minutes for Dante DiVincenzo. You're going to see mid-30s minutes for OG Anunoby. And then you're going to see high 20s minutes for Hartenstein. And then Mitchell Robinson will get the rest. And then with them running such a tight rotation, it's just really impossible to me to get to anyone off of the bench here for the Knicks. Now, the matchup, I mean, you can't really go off matchup here because it's going to be a completely different matchup. I'm assuming a bunch of these Boston guys are probably going to be resting tomorrow. So take that into account. If they all do rest, there's definitely going to be some blowout risk here as well. But if, what was I about to say? With that being said, Jalen Brunson at the top. I mean, he's the highest usage player. He's 9.6K. He's been absolutely crushing of late. He's playing 40 minutes in a competitive game. I'm not going to say no if you want to play him. Let's look at the spend ups on the slate. First off, you have Domantas Sabonis at 10-4. I think looks really, really solid. But outside of that, I mean, Brunson. I think Zion looks pretty good going up against Sacramento. You don't have too many good spend ups. I really like Jalen Green going up against Utah. So if you're spending all the way up at the top, outside of like, Sabonis, I think Brunson, raw fantasy points wise is probably going to be one of your better options if you feel comfortable doing that. So yeah, I like Brunson there up at the top. Getting to Hart, Dante, I feel are priced right now, especially with OG and Anunoby back. Dante still has a ceiling. We know Josh Hart, he's a statute stuffer. He's going to play the entire game. It still makes these guys firmly in play, but I'm not going to prioritize any of them. If I land them as like last pieces in, it's fine, but they don't really stand out to me at their price points. OG Anunoby is probably my second favorite play on this team outside of Jalen Brunson. Played 35 minutes here, played 38 minutes here. He's playing all the minutes he can handle right now. We know OG, solid rebounder. If he's going to continue to play high 30s minutes, he's about, I want to say like 0.8 on this team. About 0.8 fantasy points per minute. It's going to make him a pretty good play at this price point. So I don't mind OG there. He's definitely my second favorite play outside of Jalen Brunson on this team. Hartenstein should play high 20s minutes, just there for me. Find as like a filler piece. I don't mind it. Decent. Mitch Robinson at 4.1K is fine. If he gets like 20 minutes, sure, he could break the slate at that price point, but more of a large field GPP dart for me. All right, let's move on to Boston. So it's really tough to say right now. If we get like everyone resting, then, we're firing up like Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett. Then we have to start considering other guys like an O'Shea Brissett, etc. It's kind of tough to say right now. This game locks 30 minutes after the next one, so I'll just make updates on Reddit. It's just really hard to say. So yeah, kind of have to gloss right over this. But if all these guys are out, you're definitely going to want a ton of Boston exposure, like Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, etc. These are the guys you want to be looking to. Moving on to Houston, this is a team I'm pretty high on, but unbelievable stuff. I believe Cam Whitmore got ejected last game. I believe the game prior to that, Amin Thompson got ejected. Yeah, on the 7th. Just wild stuff here. But with that being said, you're going to see close to 40 minutes for Fred VanVleet here, and you're going to see big minutes for Jalen Green. It's a phenomenal matchup here going up against Utah. I'm pretty high on both guys here for Houston. Jalen Green has the higher ceiling than Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet definitely has a high floor. Actually, right now, Jalen Green is stuffing the stat sheet. His assist rates are way up of late. He's actually averaging more potentials right now than Fred VanVleet. As far as conversion rates, haven't looked at that, but they're both stuffing the stat sheet right now. Jalen Green actually has a higher floor right now than what he used to have. So I would actually say, definitely still a low 4, but the ceiling +4 combo is a lot better than it was, and she'll play big minutes. So really good matchup going up against Utah as well. So yeah, I'm pretty high on Jalen Green. I think he's a really good play at 8.4K. I think Fred's a really good play as well. Cam Whitmore, if we're not getting people ejected, the minutes for like Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, Dylan Brooks can be a bit more in question. Dylan Brooks and Amen should play around 30 minutes regardless. I think they're fine. Amen Thompson at 6'4", decent. Jabari Smith at 6.2K. I think I prefer to Amen Thompson as well. Should play mid-30s minutes, good point per minute guy. Really good matchup going up against Utah, so I'm pretty high on Jabari Smith. Whitmore, as long as he doesn't get ejected, should play around 20 minutes. He's a decent point per dollar value if no more value opens up. And then Dylan Brooks is playable. I think I prefer Whitmore to Brooks. But yeah, a lot to like here with this Houston team. And then this is going to be a mess, guys. It's just going to be an absolute mess. There were guys that weren't available last game that could be available tomorrow. Like, for example, Micah Potter he was available, just didn't play. So, like, they're going to have guys available that I'm assuming we're not going to know are going to be playing. Like, Potter was available for this Utah game. He just didn't play. I asked a beat writer on Twitter. He said he was, in fact, available. Just didn't play. It looks like they're just going to try stuff. They're tanking, obviously, so we got to be careful here. What I can say is if they run a similar rotation to this, what they did last game, say we get a exact same rotation to what they did last game, then we know what to do. Then we want to be firing up Omeir at 7. He would stand out as one of the best value plays in the slate. I would absolutely love it. Samancic came back into the rotation, started to play big minutes. He'd be a decent value. THT played 30 minutes. Would like him quite a bit. Keontae George going to do everything for the team. Like him quite a bit. Sensabaugh Hendricks probably my least favorite if we're going off last game's rotation. Johnny Juzang started. He'd be a decent value. Baisley firmly in play in the rotations. Like, I don't know what to do with this Utah team. I really don't. This is based off if we're going off of the last game. Where's that rotation? Sorry, guys. But like I said, Potter was available, just didn't play. I'm sure there were other guys that were available that just didn't play. So just be a little bit careful. Be a little bit careful. That's just based off last rotation. It's tough to go over. But I can say, keep an eye on the starters. If we get similar starters, I already like your 7. I don't think it matters. Even if he plays like low to mid 20s minutes, he's still going to be a really, really good value. It's still like Keontae George, right? He's going to play around 30 minutes. He's going to do everything for this team. So I'm pretty high on both those guys regardless. Juzang, if he starts, is decent. And then, THT probably going to be in the rotation, probably have to play decent minutes. I still like him regardless. Then, yeah, just keep an eye on the other stuff. There's definitely a decent amount to like here for Utah. We're going to get absolutely trolled tomorrow. I absolutely know it. Moving on to the Pelicans. So, I've just been slamming Zion and CJ every single slate. I think they look great here once again, going up against Sacramento. Prefer Zion to CJ, but I still think they're decent point per dollar plays. They're just going to do everything for this team. They're going to play big minutes. So I like both quite a bit. Trey Murphy has a ceiling. He's been phenomenal. Good rebounder. Going to play big minutes. He's very, very safe at 6.5K. Don't mind it. Herb Jones is priced right. Jonas Nance, they're going to split the center position. Both don't stand out to me. Dyson's been getting burned of late. I feel like better value will open up. He's at least playable in large field GPPs. I don't think I go to much else here, though, for the Pels. Moving on to Sacramento, Keegan Murray is questionable. So we know with the main guys, they're going to ramp up their minutes. So you're seeing huge minutes right now for De'Aaron Fox, and you're seeing big minutes for Domantas Sabonis. I think Sabonis' overall raw points your best spend up on the slate. If you are spending all the way up at the top, talking about raw points, not point per dollar, I think Sabonis is your best option. Fox, I think, is solid as well. Just the amount of minutes Fox is playing right now makes his floor even higher. Keegan Murray's just there for me at 6'1". Keon Ellis, I'm sure better value will open up. I don't know if like Trey Lyles is playable, but I'm not going to prioritize any of these. I think my main interest here is like De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, possibly like a Keegan. And then if no more value opens up, sure, like a Trey Lyles. If Keegan's out, it's just going to solidify the minutes for like Harrison Barnes, Keon Ellis, the main guys. And then I'd assume Trey Lyles would get a decent bump as well. He'd be for a bit more in play as well. Moving on to the Warriors, keep an eye on Draymond. If he's out, I would just expect Kuminga to move into the starting lineup. With that being said, I like Steph. He's been turning it on of late. He's always unowned in GPP. Should play low 30s minutes. He's been stuffing the stat sheet as well. If Draymond Green's out, he's going to have to do a bit more of their peripherals as well. So if he's out, that's a bump to him. Don't mind him in GPPs. Him, Brunson. I think I prefer Brunson, but Steph, definitely firmly in play. Trace Jackson Davis should play high 20s minutes. It's a phenomenal spot going up against Portland. I don't mind him. I think he's decent to okay. Probably priced right. Clay has a ceiling, just fine. Wiggins is playable, just fine. A lot of just fine plays here that I'm fine if Atlanta's like last piece in, but I'm not going to prioritize anyone here. And then, yeah, if Draymond's out, Kuminga starts, you can go to Kuminga. And then don't know if it moves the needle much else for me. Like pods at 5-1. Let's move on to Portland. So good thing with Portland is they're running their starters into the ground. So with that being said, Ayton should be able to feast. I really like Ayton. He's been phenomenal of late. He's rebounding the ball well, playing phenomenally offensively. He's really turned a corner of late, playing big minutes as well. He should be able to feast. I like the spot for him quite a bit. I think he's a really good center option. Even at 8.4K, still think he's really, really solid. Bant and Scoot, I think, are decent. If everyone's going to go to Scoot after the last game, I'd rather just click on Bant, even though Bant got his minutes slashed a little bit. Scoot played pretty much the entire game. Scoot's probably the better play straight up if we're not considering ownership or anything, but both will stuff the stat sheet. Scoot's potential assists have been wildly as well, so I do prefer Scoot to Bant. And then Jabari Walker's playable at 6'5", but probably getting to the price point to where he should be. And then Chris Murray, Rupert are all fine, reasonable values. Both played over 30 minutes, but not going to do a ton out there while they're out there. But both firmly in play for value if you do need a cheap value play. So I think that's going to be it, guys. Hope you guys had a great night tonight, and I will talk to y'all in the next video.